Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My book is releasing in less than 2 days and I'm really excited and a bit nervous. So in this video I wanted to take you through a sample tutorial step by step. We're going to be painting the Book of Mosscraft. Wizards and powerful books that they shouldn't have written in the first place go together like bread and butter. They are a staple among the world of sorcerers, mages and the like. We are studious and academic, but don't confuse that with orderly. Wizards thirst for knowledge, even the cursed and forbidden knowledge often held in an equally cursed and forbidden book. In this tutorial, we're going to paint a powerful book called Mosscraft. Inside, it holds the secrets of the earth, the truth behind what forces govern seeds and spores to do what they do. This sacred knowledge involves the very programming of molecules laid out in writing. Our dimension is the safest place to store such a dangerous tome. For this tutorial, we'll only be needing 2 brushes, a round brush 2 and a round brush 0. The colors we'll be using is from a set of Iris watercolors, 18 colors in this set. Specifically, we'll need lemon yellow, deep green, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, sap green, crimson lake red, Payne's green, yellow ochre, deep blue, and vermilion. I've created a downloadable pack of all the templates needed for the tutorials in this book. This is what I've printed it out on some really thin paper, and you can then trace it onto the watercolor paper of your choice. So step 1 says to sketch or trace the pencil illustration onto your watercolor paper using my drawing as a reference. If you're going to be hand drawing the sketch on your own, then there's some tips on what shapes to focus on. Think of the book as a rectangular prism and then draw the gemstone and the pages around it. Feel free to alter the design around the book as much as you like. Add more of your favorite mushrooms and leaves. You could even add a character if your imagination took you there. For this tutorial, I just created a makeshift light box and I traced the image from the image that I printed out, and I just traced it using an HB pencil. In step 2, let's begin laying down the base colors for this illustration. Dip your round brush 2 in a fair amount of water. First, mix lemon yellow and deep green to get a cool, eerie green color and paint the gemstone on the book's cover. Then mix burnt sienna and ultramarine blue and paint the brown cover of the book. While the paint is still wet, start painting suggestions of moss and decay on the cover using sap green and crimson lake red and lemon yellow. For the metal ring around the gemstone, use Payne's grey and use a light wash of yellow ochre for the pages of the book. In step 3, paint the second book's pages with a light wash of yellow ochre, using a similar process to the previous step. Then mix burnt sienna and ultramarine blue for the pages below the second book. On the lighter side, mix a touch of yellow ochre into the burnt sienna and ultramarine blue color. Use the same color for the scrolls. In step 4, continue painting the greenery. This step is a little tricky because we want the leaves to be visible shapes on their own, but also reflect a little of the glowing gem from the book. To accomplish this magical feat, we're going to use the lifting technique described in chapter 1, and you can refer to page 18 to practice that technique. Create a dark desaturated green by mixing sap green and crimson lake red and paint over the leaf on the left. Move from left to right. For the next leaf, add more water to your mixture and a touch of lemon yellow. Then apply this color to the entire leaf. And while the paint is still wet, use a dry brush to then lift the paint at the bottom of the leaf where it intersects with the book. Move to the rightmost leaf and use the same technique. Paint the surface, then wipe your brush dry and lift the paint on the part facing the gem. While the leaves are drying, use the same dark green color to paint more moss on the second book. This moss grows on the cover and also falls off the edge and overlaps the pages. Now we'll start painting the mushrooms, which is kind of the focal point of this entire scene. Mix burnt sienna and deep blue with a lot of water. Paint this color across the mushrooms. Then create a dull red by mixing vermilion and burnt sienna and paint the curving lichen on the pages. Now for step 6, let's lay down the base color for the grassy ground. Mix burnt sienna and deep blue with an equal part of water. Cover the entire area of the ground. For the edges, use short and quick brush strokes to create the shapes of sticks and branches jutting out beneath a pile of more sticks. Next, clean your brush and mix ultramarine blue plus Payne's grey diluted with a lot of water. Use this color to paint the background of the illustration and be careful to avoid the shapes of the mushrooms and the leaves. Of course, throughout this tutorial, if there's something else that you'd like to add to it or alter in some way, you are 100% free to do so. The tutorial is more of a suggestion or a guidance in order to practice painting with watercolor and learn something new along the way. But if your imagination or intuition guides you to add something, to change something, you are 100% encouraged to do so. It's all about having fun and learning something along the way and creating some beautiful art. For step 7, mix deep blue and burnt sienna with an equal part of water and use this color to paint the underside of the mushrooms. Then use Payne's grey to paint angular shadows on the stems of the mushrooms. Continue using the same color to create shadows for the pages on the books and the scrolls using the glazing technique, which is also described in chapter 1 if you refer to page 16. Now use Payne's Grey and Sap Green to paint the shadows on the sticks on the ground using the inverse painting technique, also described in chapter 1 if you refer to page 17. Use the same color to paint the shadows on the giant leaves, defining their form more. Also use the same color to paint spots of green on the ground, suggesting leaves. For the inverse painting technique, we basically imagine a stick is on the ground, and to paint the stick we paint the shadows around it, the negative space around it, to bring out the shadow, which is one of the common techniques used throughout these tutorials. Because of the way watercolor dries, and watercolor is a transparent medium, you work from light to dark. So if something is lighter, you have to darken the areas around it in order to bring it out. So in the case with a forest floor littered with a bunch of sticks, we use the inverse painting technique quite a few times in the book. Now switch to your round brush 0 and use Payne's Grey to outline the lines of the pages from the first book. We're going to strengthen the shadows to make the gem illuminate. Use a thick mixture of Payne's Grey and start painting the mushrooms. Paint the lines beneath their gills and angular shadows on their stems. Then paint the lines of the pages on the books, keeping in mind that the bottom book is further away from the light, so it will have darker shadows. In that case, you can use more paint to water ratio to have darker shadows of Payne's Grey. Use the same color, Payne's Grey, to paint the shadow on the open pages and the rolled scrolls. Also paint the lines of the metal ring around the gem on the book. Then apply another wet layer of burnt sienna across the mushroom's caps. A common color combination that we use in this book is sap green and crimson lake red. That's because red desaturates the vibrant sap green, and to be able to paint a realistic or gritty looking scenes like this and achieve realistic greenery instead of a cartoonish feel, I really enjoy desaturating the green with just a little bit of crimson lake, and it ends up with a really lovely damp forest scene and some really lovely shades of green. For this final step, switch back to your round brush tool, mix Payne's Grey and Ultramarine Blue with a lot of water and paint the outer edges of the sky background to enhance the light of the stone. A cool thing about watercolor is that you can keep layering and layering and layering to darken a color if you want to enhance the contrast or lighting on the scene. So because the first layer was quite lighter than we needed, it's as simple as just applying another layer or a glaze on the sky background to increase the contrast, and apply another layer if you still feel it's too light and you want to darken it a bit more. Then add another layer of burnt sienna and deep blue on the mushroom caps. Next, use a thick mixture of Payne's Grey and sap green and deepen the shadows of the sticks on the ground using the inverse painting technique once again. Anytime a technique is mentioned, it is also referred to from chapter 1, where you can learn to practice step by step, where you can practice the technique. In this case, every time the inverse painting technique is used, it is always referred to page 17, where you can follow the steps to practice the technique either beforehand or during this tutorial. Then use the same color, which is Payne's Grey and sap green, to draw the lines on the giant leaves. With these watercolor tutorials, there is really no such thing as a mistake. If you do feel you have ruined it, you ruined the illustration beyond being able to fix it, you can always just retrace the sketch and try again. There's really no such thing as making a mistake. The entire point of these tutorials is for joy, enjoyment, and using your time in a creative way offline from technology. Just you and the paint and some paper and your imagination, because throughout the book you're meant to imagine yourself as a wizard. Literally, you're creating a whole other dimension on paper with just your watercolor paint and your magic wand, which is your brush. So this tutorial is a sample of what you can get from my book Watercolor Wizardry, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I wanted to kind of offer this video as a follow along for people who are still considering pre-ordering the book, and people who might already have the book and are just excited for it. Finally, this illustration is done. Our adventurers shall find these books and tether themselves to cursed knowledge. I hope you enjoyed this video, and details on how to pre-order the book is available in the caption. The pre-order gift is still available to claim until March 3rd, 2026. I'll see you in the next video.